Our last video of our series brings us to the end, kind of finishing up that entire expository essay, which will include looking at introductory paragraphs, concluding paragraphs, the title you give your essay, as well as the revision process. Let's start with our introductory paragraph, because the opening paragraph is the audience's first contact with you and with what you have to say. It is of utmost importance. Traditionally, however, writers have discovered that this paragraph is the most difficult to write, perhaps because of its importance and uniqueness, or perhaps because of the mental block associated with the dreaded blank page syndrome. There are at least two options in putting your introductory paragraph together. Some writers prefer to write their opening paragraph first, knowing what they intend to discuss in the body paragraphs and what their thesis statement is. If they feel that the introductory paragraph needs to be altered after having written the essay, they simply revise it accordingly. However, some writers prefer to wait until the essay is complete before they tackle this paragraph. Perhaps it is easier to explain to someone where you are going if you have already been there. Since you have had your thesis in mind throughout the organizing and writing stages, and since you now know what ground you have traveled in your body discussion, you can more confidently address the issue of putting an introduction of your ideas together, capped, of course, by your thesis statement. You now must show your audience precisely which path you will travel together. To begin, you must keep in mind the four primary functions of the introductory paragraph: to get the reader's attention, to set the tone of the rest of the essay, to show the audience why they should continue to read your essay, and to make a commitment to take a stand that tells the audience what to expect from your discussion in the essay. To help you determine what kind of opening paragraph you need, you must remind yourself of your audience and purpose. When you write an essay, you make a commitment to your audience. You are obligated to live up to your commitment. Therefore, you want to fulfill that obligation by explaining and supporting your ideas with as much information as you can. By learning what your commitment and purpose are in your opening paragraph, your readers know what to expect. If you fail to interest them in the introductory paragraph or renege on your obligation, your audience might decide to read no further. In short, you want your audience to read all the way through your discussion. Therefore, you want to do what you said you would do. The opening paragraph also sets the tone for the rest of the essay. If your topic is a serious one, the opening paragraph should be sufficiently serious. Conversely, if your essay is humorous, the opening should establish a light tone. Nothing is more disconcerting to a reader and self-defeating to a writer than inconsistency in tone. The introductory paragraph for an average essay usually will require no more than 5 or 6 sentences, depending upon how specific you are in your opening comments. The paragraph moves from a general statement introducing the subject to a specific thesis statement. The organization might be diagrammed as an inverted pyramid. The thesis is the most specific statement in the paragraph and generally will appear as the last sentence of the paragraph. We will take a look at an example of this in class. Even though you will move in the paragraph from general to specific, you should avoid beginning with too broad a generalization. The more general you are at first, the longer it will take you to get around to your thesis, and the more you risk losing your audience's attention. Begin with a sentence that is not so general that it fails to get the reader's attention, but that gets them involved in your discussion. There are several effective methods of achieving this goal. We will be taking a closer look at these in class and looking at all of your options, but to get you started, the 5 most popular are to use a relevant anecdote or personal narrative, ask a question, offer a startling opening statement, use an analogy or comparison, or offer an informal definition. No matter which method you select, make certain your beginning is interesting and says something important and relevant to your subject. Make sure your opening anecdote, analogy, or startling statistic fits smoothly into the rest of your introductory paragraph and leads logically to your thesis statement. Too many beginning writers come up with an attention-getting first sentence, but then fail to tie it in smoothly to the rest of the opening paragraph. Such a failure stops the reader cold. As you develop as a writer, you will discover other methods of introduction that might be even more suitable to your own taste, style, or technique, but never lose sight of the general purpose and function of the introductory paragraph. Let's move on to the concluding paragraph. While your final paragraph is not as important as your introductory paragraph, it is vital to your purpose because it is your last chance to make an impression on your audience. This paragraph should achieve at least the following goals: restate the thesis but reword it this time, summarize the key topics presented in the discussion, suggest larger implications than what you could have offered before you presented all your evidence, especially in persuasive writing, and give the audience a sense of closure. Do not just stop writing. You want to realize that much of what your readers will remember about your discussion is what you present in your concluding paragraph. You have kept their attention long enough to bring them to your closing remarks. Don't lose them now. Offer something that is memorable. What you have said in the body paragraphs has surely taken your readers beyond the boundaries of your thesis statement. Now you must relate to your audience what your purpose and thesis imply. Do not, however, claim more than your presentation justifies or you can deliver. Make your point and close. Never give the impression that you have simply stopped writing. The readers desire and expect a sense of closure, an end or conclusion. Never mention a new idea in your conclusion that could or should have been discussed earlier in the essay. Not much can be added at this point that might convince readers if it has not already been said in the body paragraphs. Close while you still have their attention, avoiding platitudes, overused generalities, or noble sentiment endings. Sometimes the methods suggested earlier for opening your introductory paragraph can work for your closure of your final paragraph as well. Do not, however, merely repeat your opening sentence or your thesis. Make your closure interesting, provocative, informative, or inspiring. Whatever works for you, use it. Now let's take a second and look at titles. Most writers prefer to consider a title after they have completed their entire draft. Now that your subject and focus, your tone, and your audience and purpose are all clearly determined, and you have the full picture of what you have said in the essay, you might try to capture the essence of this writing in a few words. After all, the title is the first thing your audience sees of your essay. Therefore, why not establish an initial greeting that captures your whole discussion? Be accurate and specific in your title, providing more than the mere subject of your essay. The title should let the reader see the link between what it promises and what the essay delivers. You might include a key word from the focus of your discussion, but never let a sentence be your title. Be consistent with the tone. A serious essay is undermined by a flippant title. In short, use your imagination and be creative. Strive to get the attention of your audience. At this point, you've completed brainstorming, outlining, you've built paragraphs, you've looked at your introductory paragraph, your concluding paragraph, and your title. Now we're going to look at revising your draft. Revision is the third and final phase of constructing a good essay. Its importance lies in the fact that it is your final involvement with the essay. Therefore, you need to make sure you have corrected all the problems and put the finishing touches to your draft. Many students neglect this polishing step for one reason or another, but the difference between an excellent essay and a mediocre one can depend on how thoroughly you proofread and revise your ideas. Once you have completed your first draft, you should allow some time to pass before you begin to revise it. If you wait until you are fresh and a bit removed from your essay, you will be able to detect the problems in it more easily. Some writers have found that if they transfer their handwritten draft to a typed or printed form, or from screen to hard copy, they can more readily recognize and correct their errors. Typing allows you to review the essay more objectively. Because there are so many areas to be reviewed, you should plan to read your draft several times, determining in advance what specific potential problems you are searching for and correcting. You should also consider reading the draft aloud. You will be surprised to discover that your ears will detect an awkward sentence or phrase that your eyes overlooked. Finally, you're going to proofread your essay, keeping the following 4 areas in mind: subject matter, organization, style, and mechanics and grammar. In class, I will be giving you a checklist to help you with this. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful time writing essays.